Hello everybody, this is Paul with Freestone Trees, and today I'm at an amazing mango farm, a residential mango farm in South Florida, and I'm near the road, so I interviewed the guy Cecil who has this amazing farm. Please mind the noise. I'm about to get a camera system, a video microphone system that'll be a little bit better when I do these interviews, so it might be a little noisy today, but I just definitely wanted to come here and show you all the different things he has here. It's mostly mangoes on his farm. He has about an acre, and he's also doing ultra high density. So I had a great time here. He was describing all his trees, and just look behind me and check that out, this grove. Now, with my eye, I'm just being most efficient as possible. I'm seeing tremendous amount of room for more trees, a lot more trees. But he's got his hands full here with what he's doing. So I don't know what his plans are with that, but he has planted in the last couple of years a bunch of trees where he's doing ultra high density. And I mean ultra. I mean, my trees are 9 and 10 feet apart. I have some that are 8, but his are 6.5 feet apart, and they've been in the ground several years. He said that was an experiment, and he would have put them a little farther, as you'll see in the interview. He has a lot of good information. He's been doing it a long time. That's why when I do these interviews of these people that have farms, you're getting and you're learning from people that have experience. And that's what you want. Somebody like me, I've been doing this for a good amount of time. I've been eating mangoes and I've tasted different varieties, but nowhere near as these people that I'm interviewing. So yeah, maybe I'll have more experience than the average person, but when it comes to mango farm growing and experience, we're all learning to a degree, but I'm a novice at this, to say the least. And but these trees are really cool. He's not keeping these trees super big. So you see this tree behind me. I think he's keeping his trees 20 feet, as he says he likes to keep them not any higher than 20 feet. But what's really interesting about what he has here, and I've never seen trees like this, and they're all like this, from the tree bark to all the way out to how far they come out. They're literally coming out higher than what the tree is. Absolutely amazing. So if that tree is 20 feet, I mean, these things are coming out more than 20 feet on some of these trees. So it's coming out a lot, really a lot. Now, a lot of these trees were here when he bought the property, so he's doing the best he can with shaping them, keeping them low, and so on. I don't believe he would have them this high if he was planning from the beginning, but he explained something great at the end of our video about the root system on the big trees. When you cut them, there's a big root system and they try to balance themselves out, so it's harder to keep them small. So a good tip that he gave was try to keep your trees at a certain size when you get them new. So here's a lot of his ultra density. It's just really cool the way he's doing it. Look at that. It's just beautiful. I mean, this is probably, I've been to many farms. This is a clean farm. The grass is mowed wonderful, but it's just really clean. It's very clean. Even though it's right near the road, it's very clean. But check this out. Everything's, when I say clean, I mean in order. Look how lined up all these trees are. And it's really nice the way he's done it. So he's experimented with these ultra density trees. He has fair results. Some of the things he's going to take out. He's not afraid to top work or take out trees that aren't doing well. And somebody like me who has a small yard, it's very valuable to see stuff like this. And to learn from this. Now, I know Richard Campbell, who has a mango farm out in South Florida. I'll get there one day to interview him. He has a whole grove of ultra density. He keeps them 9 feet apart, 9 by 9. So it's possible. But he has a good variety of trees here. Great selection of mangoes here. He has some really cool old lychee and avocado trees that are kind of unique. Now, on his newer trees, he's not using any irrigation, but on his newer trees, he is. On the ultra density ones and the other newer trees that he puts in, he has a well, and with the well, he's using irrigation here. So on these newer trees, he's using this irrigation. I didn't ask him how often he waters them, but all his trees are looking good. He knows what he's doing. He has a lot of experience. So here's the video. Check it out. Hello, everybody. Here we are today with Cecil Brumfield, and we're at this amazing mango farm, and I'm really excited about today's visit. Hello, Cecil. Nice to meet you.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, he's going to take us around his farm, but he has a lot of history to this place as well he's going to share with us. So Get ready, here we go.
Yes.
All right, Cecil, so tell us a little about the history of this property and what you're growing here.
Yes, this property used to belong to Lawrence Zill. That is, of course, the person that started the Zill high performance plants, and this was his place. So he had a lot of different things on the property, and also he did a lot of work, unique work on the property. A lot of top work trees that are strange combinations and very interesting. So you can definitely see his handiwork around the grove.
And as you're saying that, there's an amazing red bird right behind you. So tell us this. So when you got this place, did you get it for the history and the property of the mangoes, or did you just get it because it was a nice house? Were you into mangoes at the time?
I was into mangoes, but not that much. All I knew is about kit mangoes. I had a couple of kit mango trees at prior residences, and I thought they were just the best mango in the world because all I'd eaten before that was a Tommy Atkins. So that was my point of reference, and of course a kit was a lot better than that. I bought this property, and that really started me on my journey of learning all about different types of mangoes. When I bought the property, it had about 4 different types of mangoes on it. Some of them weren't that good, and I got rid of several varieties. And then since then, I've been upgrading, and I've got over 62 varieties now. A lot of the new stuff, but some of the better old stuff. Any of the stuff on the property I thought that wasn't that good, I just cut it down.
And how big is the property?
1.3 acres.
Now, so it was just a coincidence that you bought it from him?
Yes, it was actually an abandoned property. It had been sitting here for several years. Weeds everywhere. The roof was leaking. It hadn't been lived in. It was just a real mess. And so I bought it and rehabbed it. And then I started working on the orchard and trying to just improve everything. There were some trees planted too close together that were crowding each other. I took those out. And then I started adding some trees, and then later on I kind of got the high density concept in my mind. I added a lot of other trees several years ago.
And besides mangoes, do you have other fruits on this property?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of lychee trees. I've got one very rare type, the Z lychee, which has an excellent crop this year. I also have longan, I have black sapote, I have sapodilla, and I do have star fruit. And I have half a dozen different types of avocados, and I have one very rare one that Lawrence Zill brought back from Belize called the Gallo, which is a very nice avocado. It has actually kind of a sweet taste.
Wow, so we're going to get started with the tour of your body, but anyone wants to know, Cecil's contact information is below the video, and he does sell fruit when they're in season, so definitely be in touch with him. And let's start the tour.
Okay, the tree behind us is actually a Bailey's Marvel. That's a very nice mango. It's very popular. People that try it, almost everybody likes it a lot. It has a kind of a real fruity taste to it. Didn't bloom that good this year. Where it did bloom, it set pretty well, but it's only had about a 20% bloom. So the bloom on my trees this year, some bloom very well, have nice crop. Other ones, some of them actually flushed out early and then they couldn't bloom. So that's kind of the way things worked out. Crop is better than average, but it's not what I wanted.
Well, when you have a tree this big, which they grow much bigger, but when you have a tree this big, do you spray them with anything?
Yes, I've been all organic. I'm not certified, but I have been using only organic products for over 9 years. And I do have a spray program, and I spray them with a number of different products. And you have to do that. One of the things I use for powdery mildew is I've been using sulfur. And it helps quite a bit, but you've got to be very, very diligent about the application, when, and so on and so forth. And if you miss just one spray, it can be a big difference. And what happened to me this year is the very tail end of the season, my equipment broke, and it took me about a week and a half to get all the parts in because the first time they sent parts, one of them was wrong. And I was not able to spray that last cycle when I should have. And it really decimated some of the varieties.
All right, well, we're excited. Show us around.
This variety is a Southern Blush, and it's an old Florida variety. It actually came from the Zills. And it has a nice crop this year. And this is a mango that you have to know a little bit about it and understand when to cut it. It's a mango that almost will not get overripe. So you can pick it, they can get nice and colored up, get a little bit soft, and cut it, and it's a good mango, but you really need to wait. Let it get really soft where any other mango would be overripe, and this one then develops a completely different taste, and it's really good. I have had some problems with disease in this tree in the past. I've done a number of different things, and last year I had a small crop, but the amount I lost to disease was about 20%, and this year I have a lot more on the tree, so hopefully we'll see how that works out and you know, what the fruit quality is. But I'm hoping I can keep it, and you know, we'll find out. Time will tell.
Yes, and I noticed your trees, at least this one, it's very wide but not too tall. Did you do it perfect?
Yes, I trim my trees. Every year I trim my trees. I go through them. I take out the crossing branches, or most of the crossing branches. If they're too thick, I thin them out and I bring them down. I try to keep my older trees, my big trees, around 20 feet or less. And it's a lot of work. It's every year, and they don't look this way by chance. If, in fact, I didn't do this, these trees would be 40, 50 feet tall. And you couldn't spray them. It'd be hard to pick the fruit. Then when you had high winds or you had a hurricane, they'd get all destroyed. I actually cut this grove a week before Wilma came through, and the grove across the intersection, their trees looked like you dropped a 1,000-pound bomb on them. And my trees, I had, I think, one branch broken, and I had a tree on the other end, which happened to be a Tommy Atkins blown over, and I was actually happy about that because I didn't want any Tommy Atkins on my property.
Yes, yes.
So, so over here, this is this tree is a Zill 80, and it's another one of the Zill varieties that's later season, latter part of July, large fruit. It can be 3.5 pounds, and it's got a nice taste to it. It's fiberless, and so this is one of Lawrence Zill's babies, kind of one of the last trees that he propagated. And I've got 2.5 of these on the property. I've got a half over there combined with the Duncan. This tree here is some of Lawrence's handiwork. You've got 3 trees on this particular tree. This part happens to be Banging a Polly. And this is the one that this is one of the ones that got damaged severely because of the powdery mildew. I needed another spray here. I didn't get it, and it knocked off about 90% of the fruit. It's very susceptible to powdery mildew. This part of the tree here is Allenport Banishan, and this is another Indian variety. It's a nice fruit. It's a white-looking flesh inside. One of the problems with this fruit, though, it's a really, really bad splitter. And if you get heavy rain, you can walk out the next day and it's just like, you know, you took a machete and just split them. So it's very disappointing because you can have fruit that's ready to pick in 3 or 4 days, heavy rain, and then, you know, a lot of it just, you can't do anything with it. This is another variety on the same tree. This is an old Florida variety, and it's called the Golden Delight. Hardly anybody has this. It's a real nice fruit. It's about 1.25 pounds. It's totally yellow. It's very soft flesh, no fiber at all, and it's a very juicy, sweet taste. And it's very intermittent bear, and I haven't had a good crop on it in several years, but this is the best crop that I've had probably ever, and it goes up to that point.
It's called Golden Delight?
Golden Delight, So it's one that probably no one's had before. Here, this is a Fairchild.
Fairchild,
And,
okay.
It's from Panama, and this is something I planted. And this is a very nice fruit, but you have to know when to eat it, and most people don't understand when to cut this fruit. It gets totally yellow first, and a lot of people think it's good to go at that point, and they'll cut it, and it tastes like a tangerine, or very citrusy. You've got to let it actually sit another 5 or 6 days, and it turns a bronze, and that it gets a little soft, and that's when it really tastes the best. It's got a nice crop on the tree this year, and it's only about an 8-ounce, 9-ounce fruit. I've had some as large as 12, but that's an outlier. And this tree is a Rosy Gold. This is my first one that'll come in each year. And I got 2 trees, and this one will be ready in about 3 weeks. And this in this area, it stays small, open canopy, easy to manage. I did plant one of these when I lived in Wellington, and it's a totally different looking tree over there. It's very vigorous, grows like crazy, thick, hard to control, but over here in the coastal zone, it's a very manageable tree, and it's a good early consistent producer. Many years I'll have these in March, middle of March, but they're not as good in March. They taste a lot better in April, and certainly much better in June.
All right, Rosy Gold. All right.
Now this tree here is a combination. Didn't bloom very well. This part is Dot, and that part over there is Valkyrie. This tree here,
Now, when you moved here, was these trees 2 different mangoes?
yes, and that one was 3 different mangoes. That's all Lawrence Zill.
Okay, so you didn't do that. They were like that.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't do that. I've done some things like that.
And were they labeled when you got here, or did he tell you, or how did you have to figure it out?
Actually, Walter helped me. Walter put labels on the older trees that were here, which helped me a lot because I didn't know.
Now, you put them on before or after you moved in?
After I moved in, he did me a favor.
Great.
This is a coxall. This tree is one that got decimated by powdery mildew. I should have done that last spray. And it had a very good bloom. It had little tiny mangoes on it, and the powdery mildew got on it and it aborted everything, and I lost 90% of the crop. So that's what powdery mildew do. It's very vicious. This happens to be a Zill.
Another Zill here, okay.
And, the Zill mango, it's a smaller mango, 8-10 ounces, and it's not real popular. It's an old variety, 1948. But there are people that like it. And the one thing about this mango is it does vary from year to year, depending on the weather conditions. Some years people like it a lot more than other years. And so you just got to see, what the weather's going to be like and how it turns out. But it's a fiberless mango. It's what's called a Freestone Mango. That means you can cut it around the center, spin it, pull it apart, and just spoon it out. It has a tough skin, and it actually, you can put it in a cooler, bring it out on a hot summer day, do what I just told you, and it's real nice to have, if you're out someplace on a fishing trip or something like that. This is my high density, couple of my high density.
Wow,
growers.
high density gardening at its greatest. Look at this. All right.
This is a Malika. Didn't do a thing this year. Was completely dead. This happens to be a lemon meringue.
Now, how far apart are these?
These are 6.5 feet by 10 feet. So 10 feet between the rows, 6.5 feet. It's an experiment. And, if I had to do it again, I'd probably spread them out another couple of feet, at least 8 feet. And depends on your variety. Some varieties it works okay, with other varieties.
Okay, so for those of you that didn't hear that, there were 6.5 feet, and he said if he had to do it again, he would have did it a couple more feet, maybe 8 feet or so.
This is an Angie.
It's an Angie. That's looking nice. It's a small tree with a good amount of fruit on it.
Mm-hmm. Got a fair crop. And these are sweet tarts. And
Sweet tarts.
I've never gotten anything off of those.
Okay.
These are also lemon meringue. They didn't do anything this year. This happens.
Now, what's your plan with these? When they are you going to keep them small? Are you going to take one out between them? What's your plan?
Well, what I might do initially is some of the larger stuff I might top work into smaller varieties, Angies, and also Rosy Golds. If I see some trees are just giving me too many problems trying to keep them at a decent size, I'll just change things. This is a San Paris, and young tree. It's the youngest tree in the row. And this tree is a top work. It's a Seacrest, which has gotten another name of, I think, triple sec. This was a Harvest Moon, and I just didn't get any production. It was a large tree. It had been here for a while, and I was getting about a half a dozen mangoes a year. The Harvest Moon's a pretty mango. It's not anything special in my opinion. And so I top worked it into something else.
How old are these trees in your high density area?
These are about 5 years old. This one's older. This one's about 7. And this is a Kesar.
Oh, what's this?
Kesar here.
Kesar, okay.
So this is a Kesar. And what's odd is my bigger, healthier looking Kesar doesn't want to produce hardly at all, and the smaller one produces a little bit. So anyhow. Kesar is there, and this tree's been here about 12 years. This is a Neelum, and of course it's a small tree, and this is I have no problem keeping it at this size. And this would be good, of course, in a ultra high density because it is a smaller tree. And like I said, this one's 12 years old, and you still have it at a nice.
So 12 years old in this Neelum, you get a good crop and you keep this size and you have no problem. Okay, very nice.
All right, over here I have these 3 trees are pickerings.
Pickering.
And this one didn't do too much. This one did a little better. And this one, about the same now. This tree is a few years older than these. I had this one earlier, and when I bought it from the nursery, it was a very sickly looking tree. It was a very light color. It took me a couple years to get it looking, healthy. But anyhow, these are nice trees for ultra high density too. They're small, and they typically are pretty productive. So that's something that ultra high density can work out. This is a coconut cream. Has a light crop on it.
Coconut cream, okay.
And it didn't bloom that good, and then it didn't set that well. I have a top one which is better than this one, but that's just the way it goes. So this tree here is a named seedling on the property. This is a Crimson Delight. It's across, one of the parents is Zill 80. The other parent, I believe, is the one, let me think for a second here, Tommy Atkins. That was the other parent. And the reason I say that, there was a Tommy Atkins tree over there. That's one that got blown over by the hurricane. It doesn't really have any of the flavor of a Tommy. It has a little bit of light fiber, very light, which I think that came from the Tommy, but it's a big mango. It's a pretty mango. And when you let it get fully ripe, it has a real nice taste, but you got to wait on it. It's not one of the ones you cut early. And so that's, there's only a couple of these trees out. I did give some budwood to Alex, and he has a tree also, but that's pretty well fit. More ultra high density, these are cotton candies, this one.
Cotton candy here. Cotton candy.
Right. And this is a phoenix.
A phoenix, okay.
And then over here, we've got a honey kiss. Got a little light
honey
top
kiss.
on it.
And these are two, also how far apart?
These are 6.5.
6.5, okay.
A lot of most of my stuff is at 2 meters, 6.5 feet. This is Adamoya here. They drop all their leaves and then they'll put on new ones. I haven't had good luck with production, but what you're supposed to do to get the best production is hand pollinate. It's kind of a 2-step process, and I've just never been willing to spend the time with a Q-tip to go through and hand pollinate.
And all your trees are on irrigation, even the older trees?
No, the older trees are not on irrigation,
okay.
Only the younger ones. This is Sapodilla.
Do you know what variety Sapodilla? You don't know? Okay.
Over here, this is, I have 2 Julie trees, and this is one of my Julie trees. This one has 3 blooms on it. You see the 3rd bloom at this point. This one has a fair crop. The other one has a better crop. They bloomed about a week apart, and one had a little colder weather. This one did than the other one, and it impacted its sap. These 3 trees here are Angies, and a number of my Angie trees flushed out late, which is really bad. They typically can't bloom where they flushed out. This one did do a little bit of setting and blooming on the part that flushed out. This is a Glen, very disappointing bloom on my Glen.
That's a Glen tree, okay. Those are Angie, more ultra density.
We've got a Cac, a Kathy, a Cac, a Kathy.
Cat Kathy, Cat Kathy.
And then down at the end here, we've got a lemon zest. I've had 4 results with the lemon zest. I personally haven't had that good of luck with my new Zill varieties blooming. And, out west they do better where it's a little cooler, but for me, I've had a little trouble with the getting the blooming. And also my Cax, which is an excellent mango, that one I haven't had good luck with either. On the this is a Jakarta.
Jakarta.
And, it has a small crop on it. It's a nice mango. I did have some problems with disease on it, and I think I've got that taken care of with the fruit quality last year. On what I had was good. And over here we have a carry tree. I have 2 carry trees. This is my smaller of the 2. And this one had a couple blooms on it, 2 blooms.
Cherry tree. Okay.
And this is a smaller tree, but this tree also, it got a good trim. They all do. And if it wouldn't have been trimmed, it would be quite a bit larger than it is. But that's just what you have to do, or they just get too big, they get too thick, and I try to keep them where they have good airflow. All right. This is one of my lychee trees. This one's a Bengal. It's a very good tasting, has a larger seed though, and this tree has not bloomed in 9 years. It finally did something this year, small crop. So at least I'll have something off this tree. I was very tempted to completely remove it, but I just didn't want to do the work, so it's there. At least it's making up for it this year. Here we have a Jacqueline on this part. It did good this year. Nice bloom, nice set. And then over here, this is some of my handiwork. This is orange sherbet on this part. This is my biggest top work, biggest canopy on orange sherbet, and this did not bloom at all. It flushed out right before, and that was kind of it. Over here, I do have on this part of the tree, this is Pickering, and I do have had a pretty decent set, blooming set on the Pickering part of the tree. So this one has 3 different types on it, and this was some of my handiwork. This was all Jacqueline, and I decided I wanted less Jacqueline. This tree here is a big tree, and it's a big, vigorous tree. It's hard to control, and it's got a decent crop on it. And this is good quality fruit. It has a very nice taste, Indo-Chinese flavor profile. Over here, this tree is a Spirit of 76. And this tree during Wilma, it got blown over both ways, and it broke the root system really bad, and it's never been the same since then. It took a lot to vigor out of it. It's doing okay, and it doesn't produce a lot, but it's fruit that's similar in taste profile to a Zill, a little different, a little bigger, but kind of similar. They're like first cousins.
Now this that's growing out here, so this is a new sprout growing out.
That should be Spirit of 76 too.
Would you do something top work that, or you're not planning on it?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I'm probably just let it grow back.
Okay.
Over here, this is a Kent.
So here's a Kent tree.
Yeah,
okay.
This Kent had a double bloom and a very good set, and it was earlier, and it's got a very good crop. In fact, I'm a little worried about this crop because the Kent has extremely brittle wood, and if it has too many mangoes, it'll break branches like crazy. So I've got to actually get up here and tie off at least this branch because I'm concerned about it getting broken.
So with the Kent, have you had trouble with the bacterial black spot?
I have had some trouble, but never bad. I've had it maybe a couple of years ago when the weather was really very rainy during that one bearing season. I did have about 10%. Last year, maybe 5%. So it's the bacterial spot and the rot, which can go hand in hand. I've never really had it get into this tree to any degree. Now, that stuff can change quickly. You can have a tree that's okay one year and not okay the next year. But this tree has been good. This variety does have a problem, but I haven't had a problem.
What's your oldest tree on the property?
I don't really know. It's before my time. I'm not sure. This avocado is a Marcus pumpkin. Had a very good crop last year. It's a big round avocado, and it's pretty popular. You read the reviews, or Pine Island, the way they rate it. They don't rate it as good as the Monroe, but I have a Monroe tree, and I have people that really seem to like this one better than the Monroe. Anyhow, we'll see what it does this year. avocados are kind of inconsistent. I do have a May. It's a Canteen variety, and
Canteen
that's my
Mame.
Monroe tree there.
Oh, that's a Monroe avocado.
Yeah, Monroe
Okay.
avocado over there, and it had a decent crop last year.
Nice.
Yeah. And same thing, those are trimmed too. Everybody's trimmed or they get out of control. This is another one of my Rosy Gold trees, and it has a pretty nice crop on it.
So you have a good amount of Rosy Gold, huh?
I have two.
Two,
This
okay.
is my second Rosy Gold, and this one's a little behind schedule versus the one over on the south side. That trees just do that. The same varieties don't behave the same. This is the lychee. This is considered to be the best. It's a mountain lychee, and when you read about it, they'll tell you it takes 25 years for it to really start producing. And my tree is about 30 years old, and it really only started producing well for me the last 3 years. Last year didn't do good, but the year before it did well, and the year before that it did well. And this year it is completely off the charts. It's got just a crazy crop on it. And the tree has gotten quite a bit bigger too. I do take the center out if I bring it down, but you look at the fruit up there, it is just absolutely
loaded.
crazy. So, and this, again, if you read the reviews, this is the best stuff.
What's the name of this lychee?
Know My Z, I believe.
No, my Z.
Yeah.
Wow, it's loaded.
Mountain lychee, and
Wow.
it's got a bumper crop, and this stuff is really good. It hands down beats the Sweetheart variety. This is the Honey Kiss, Top Work Honey Kiss. That was a Zill,
Okay.
and yeah, fair crop. This is a kit. This tree did get infected with the rot. I did lose about 20% of the crop last year, and you know, I know what to do to mitigate that. You got to go through your canopy. You got to try to look for any lesions on your branches and branch tips and try to remove those. This tree, I can't get to everything, but I did a good job on working through it, and we'll see how it works out this year. And part of that depends on what the weather's like. If we have it really rainy, it's going to be more problematic. You know, the weather's a big factor. If you start getting rain every day for a couple weeks, it's going to cause problems. This is a Top Work dot.
That's a dot tree. Okay, top work. Okay.
This is a Valkyrie, and not much of a crop. It had some damage on it. Believe it was cold weather. This is my Guava avocado. I think the only one in the United States. It was brought back from Belize by Lawrence Zill. Small tree. Get about 6 dozen each year. It's very nice. Has a nice sweet taste.
What's it called? Gallo?
Yeah, Gallo.
Gallo
It means
avocado.
rooster in Spanish. This is my other kit tree. This tree got decimated about 3 years ago. I lost 80% of the crop due to bacterial spot and rot. And I cut the tree all the way back. I basically was trying to top work it. My top works didn't take too well, so the kit grew back. But I also have some honey kiss over on this section of the tree. So we'll see what happens with the rot this year, since all the canopy was removed, and we'll see if anything is latent in the tree itself. It's not supposed to be, but we will find out how it performs. If it has problems, I'll take the chainsaw to it again. This is my other Julie tree. This one bloomed a little different cycle than the other one, and it's got a
big
nice
Julie tree.
crop on it.
Now, these older trees, how far apart are these here?
I don't know. They had a Jakarta over here I removed, but these things, I'm saying they're about probably 15 feet. They had another tree on the other side that I took out. They had these trees way too close together, and they were just growing up like crazy. And so I removed like every other tree. This one is a Van Dyke, old Florida variety, and it's a good producer. And over here, I have Ram. This is a seedling of Julie. It's from
Graham,
Trinidad.
okay.
Julie's actually from Trinidad. Jamaica takes credit for it, but it actually is from Trinidad. This has a nice crop, double bloom, and it's set pretty well. And we'll see how that turns out. This tree was a Bombay. Bombays are very frustrating trees. I cut it back, I top worked it, and this is a coconut cream.
Wow, okay. So there's
that's
your
what
top
that
working.
is.
And when did you top work this?
I believe it was 2 years ago.
And have you gotten any coconut cream? Oh, there's some on there now.
This is the first time it's bloomed.
Okay.
Got a little bit of fruit on it. This tree over here, it was a kit. I top worked it. This part is Golden Delight, and this part happens to be Pineapple Pleasure over here. And I had a little bloom on the Golden Delight side, just minor, and that didn't set. And Pineapple Pleasure didn't do anything. This is my other carry tree. This is a huge tree. I really don't know how this would be a pure carry, but Gary says it's a pure carry. But again, the way the tree looks is because it's been trimmed and opened up. It has 2 blooms. It has a fair amount of fruit on it. It kind of fools you because you have so much canopy. There's more fruit up there than you think it is. But anyhow, that's my second carry tree. Here's some other ultra high density. These trees. This is a guava, and it was getting too lanky. I had to cut it back. This tree has never grown correctly, and this one is from Miramar, and it is Maya Trinot, and I'm probably going to remove that. This is a orange sherbet. It had a bloom, and they got wiped out by powdery mildew. This is a M4. It had a bloom, set fruit, and even though the fruit got up to BB size, then it dropped that. So I don't know why.
And what year are these trees? Well, how long have they been in the ground?
About 2 years. And I use all organic, and unfortunately, that means you got to use organic fertilizer, and the best I can get is chicken manure, and it's just not nearly as effective as the commercial stuff. So small trees do grow slower. This is a main seedling here. This is a tango. Very soft fruit, has kind of a citrusy taste, and flavor can be good on a good year, but it does bounce around a lot.
What's it called?
Tango, T-A-N-G-O. This part of the tree is a Wally, old Florida variety. It got hit by powdery mildew pretty heavily. And this
There's
part
a
of
bloom
the
on
tree
there.
here is orange sherbet. Did have a bloom, but powdery mildew got that. So I'm actually converting the Wally into the orange sherbet, and this is orange sherbet here too. So I only have that one branch of Wally left, and I don't know, I'll probably leave it alone. It's not that much. As long as it's not crowding this, I'll let this grow in, and I've got to pay attention to that and make sure it doesn't get too thick. Over here, this is an Edward. Edward had a good bloom, good set, good crop for Edward, and but I only have the one tree, and I did cut back some of the canopy quite a bit, and that part didn't have time to regenerate. This is the Carabao, this part of the tree. I took most of my Carabao and cut it back, and this part of the tree I top worked into cat. Didn't have much bloom on that, but with a little bit of bloom I had, it didn't set. So anyhow, hopefully next year. This is my Namdok Mai. This is Namdok 1. And this tree had been just the Namdok 1, what I understand, is a little bigger tree than the 4. I think the fruit taste is probably pretty close to the same. This tree had been a very bad producer, but this is the best crop it's had in many, many years. I was really, it was on my top work list, but it kind of made up for things this year. It's got 2 blooms, and it's set pretty well. They got quite a few in. This is the top work dwarf Hawaiian. This originally was Van Dyke, and this didn't do anything this year. Over here, I've got a hatcher. A hatcher also has problems with rot. I cut all the canopy off this tree a few years ago. Every single leaf, there wasn't one leaf left on the whole tree. And last year it had some fruit. I still had about 20% of it that I lost to rot. We'll see how it goes this year. So if it gets much beyond that, it might just stop with too. Over here, this is Duncan. And
What is this?
Duncan.
Duncan, okay.
And Duncans are very good producers. Actually, I got out yesterday and tied off a couple branches. They had too much fruit on them, they'll break branches also. They're not brittle wood, but they just can load up.
Now, how do you deal with, that's the public street there, right? And so how do you deal with that?
Cameras.
Cameras. So check this out. This is really cool. This is a camera he has facing the street, and I'm sure it's a wireless camera, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you got cameras. So do you come out here if you see somebody picking them?
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
I actually had somebody yesterday. I tied the branches up, and I think it's my neighbor, a couple houses down. I saw, this girl get out of the car and run over to the tree, and I yelled at her, so she jumped back in the car. But she got a mango. But yeah, it's a problem over here. So I have to keep an eye on it. I put cameras up, and this is my oldest camera. It's the biggest, most obvious camera, big black camera, and I like to put it out because this one people can't miss. I have other cameras that are smaller, that are more camouflaged, and you might not see them, but this is the one I like to put out just to get everybody's attention, and it does work fairly well.
You could actually put like a pole here with fake cameras, right? And a note,
Good,
saying we have.
And I might do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's a problem along this fence line. I keep the trees trimmed up higher just because I don't want people stealing them, but still you got a big load then.
Now legally, from what I understand, at least in California, if fruit's hanging over the tree, then it's public property. How's that here?
I don't think so. If it's on the ground, of course they can get it, but taking it off your tree, if it's over the fence, I don't think so. I mean, they're still stealing. Just because they can reach it doesn't mean it's there. So I don't think that's the way it works in Florida.
Okay.
This is my last remaining Bombay. This tree was huge. I cut it way back 5, 6 feet, 7 feet, and I'm reworking the canopy, but it's just a very vigorous tree with large internodes, and so it's very hard to keep it under control. It just wants to get very lanky. It's an aggravating tree to try to control, and it didn't do anything this year. I guess it's not happy being this size. And the problem is, once a tree gets really big, it has a root system that matches the canopy. So then you take the canopy off, you got this supersized root system, and the tree's kind of out of balance. It's got way more root system than it has canopy, and then it wants to kind of, get back to equilibrium, and it wants to put the canopy up there. So it's always better, control your tree when it's smaller. Don't let it get away from you. Once they get big, then, it's a lot harder to deal with them. This tree over here is a Beverly. This tree also has some problems with bacterial spot and rot, and I'm doing the best I can. I can't get to the canopy because it's a taller tree. I lost some fruit last year due to that. Doesn't have very good crop this year, and we'll see how it turns out. This over here is Lychee Pride. Huge tree. Keep this one under control too. It doesn't like it. Only part of the canopy bloomed. It's set well where it bloomed. And it's an old Florida variety. It's a tree that can get 60 feet tall, and it's a hard one to maintain. And over here, this was some unique variety that Lawrence put on the tree, and it wasn't any good. This part is Fairchild. It bloomed and set pretty well. This is Super Julie over here. It bloomed and didn't, whatever it tried to set, it all came off. So just something else, another little top work combination there. So that's pretty well most of the trees.
So tell me, what's the first mango you ever remember tasting? What variety was it?
It was a Tommy Atkins. I bought it in Tampa back in the 70s, and it wasn't very good.
And today, what would you say your top 3 favorite mangoes are personally for you?
For me, it's my top at this point is a cac. I like a cac a lot. It's a very good mango. Fairchild I like, and then beyond that, I kind of bounce around. I mean, I do like coconut cream. You have to know when to cut them, and you know, if you wait a little too long, the flavor's not the same. But that's probably my top 3, and then Kerry. You know, Kerry's right there also, and so that's kind of it for me. A lot of the varieties. I can eat whatever I want, but a lot of them I don't find myself gravitating toward. Just like Julie, a lot of people just love, love, love Julie. I have all the Julies I could ever eat, and I eat them occasionally. They're, you know, for me, everybody's taste is different. They're not
What's
my
your
favorite.
3 biggest disappointing mangoes?
Well, it's more than 3, but a lot of the new Zill stuff I've just very hard to initiate. They need colder weather. They haven't bloomed, and you know, they've been very disappointing. For example, I had the Harvest Moon. I never could get production off of it. It was a nice big canopy, so I top worked it. So I would say, you know, other than the ones that get infected with the rot or the bacterial spot, I mean, that kit, throwing 80% of your fruit away is extremely disappointing. And of course, when that happens, I just want to get my chainsaw out and fix the problem. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, so you do sell mangoes during the season?
yes, I do. Sell them in the
Okay.
carport. I have a number of tables set up, sell them by the pound.
Is that by walk-up only, or do they do it online?
I have regular hours, but this year I'm going to try to work with people and do some pre-sale. So if somebody contacts me, you know, I'll make up some bags and some assortments, and then, you know, as long as they honor their commitment.
Now, when you sell your mangoes, do you pick them when they're ripe on the tree, or do you?
That's a very important point, and I saw one of your earlier videos, and you were asking about, you know, mangoes that you buy, local mangoes that don't flavor up properly. And it's really important to understand every mango, because they're all different. They're like people, and you know what the tolerance level is. Some mangoes you can pick earlier, and they still flavor up, but most of them don't. And there's 2 things that'll happen if you pick them completely too early. You're just not going to ripen. You're going to throw them in the trash. If you pick them too early, you know, there's another stage where you can pick them too early, and they will ripen, but the flavor's never there. I mean, if you've had one that's really picked correctly, that flavor is going to be a lot stronger than one that was picked too early. So there's a point, you can pick them, they will ripen, but when you see the customer later, hey, how was that mango? Well, it was okay. You know, it's just not that good. So you got to be really careful. I try to pick all my mangoes at the optimum point. And you have to know every one, and you know, I try my best. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way I want it to, but I don't try to pick them early. It's easier to pick them early. You don't have drops. You don't have mangoes falling off the tree. So it's the easy way out. Just go out there and just pick everything that looks kind of close. But then you have a bunch of mangoes that just don't flavor up, and I try not to do that. I try my best to pick them at the right time, and that means it's a little bit of a balancing act, because if you don't pick that mango this morning, it may be on the ground this afternoon. And you know, at that point, the cost, the price you can get for that mango goes way down. So that's a very important point. And some groves do have a tendency to pick earlier. I try not to do that. I intentionally try not to do that.
How could somebody know when they go to buy mangoes, other than store-bought mangoes, if they go to a local farm, if they're picked too early or not? Can they tell by how hard they are or how green they are, or it depends on the variety?
It depends on the variety. So you probably aren't going to be able to tell it. You're going to get home, and then when it ripens, all of a sudden, either it doesn't ripen, you know, and of course that one probably didn't look quite right in the box, you know, but maybe you were in a hurry, maybe there was only a couple mangoes, you felt like you had to have it. So the ones that were completely picked too early, those you might be able to visually tell they don't look, they're not as filled out, they're a little bumpier. Like a Kerry mango, if you go up to a Kerry mango and you feel it, and it feels bumpy, that's a problem. It needs to feel smooth. That means it's filled out. And if it's not smooth, I don't care what it looks like, it's not filled out. So you know, but you can't get to the fruit. I mean, some of it you can walk up and feel it, and you know, okay, that one's good and that one isn't. But a lot of them you can't tell from the ground, and you got to pick them up and, you know, at height. And so it's there's other things with the Kerry too. The Kerry will get a little bit of a yellowish tint to it, and that's something you can look for, and it's real easy to see late in the afternoon. And I like to pick carries late just so I can kind of see that yellow hue.
Sure.
But it's a very intricate dance that you have to do to pick the mangoes at the right time, and I try my best to pick them at the right time.
Now, do you personally eat any of the mango skins or no?
I don't. I need to try that, but Har does, and I don't.
Yes, yes. Okay.
So maybe I'll start doing that.
Great. And what, besides spraying the canopies, like you said, for disease and stuff, do you use any fertilizer on your trees?
I do.
You said chicken manure earlier.
Yeah, for the small trees I use chicken manure. The big trees I don't give them any nitrogen. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you have a thunderstorm, you get a lot of nitrogen from the thunderstorm. You can look that up on Google and it'll tell you, you know, how many strikes and how much nitrogen. So I don't fertilize my large trees with any nitrogen, but I do give them other soil amendments. So I give them stuff, in the spring specifically to make the fruit fill out nicer and to color up better. But everything, again, has been organic for over 9 years.
All right. Speaking of organic, somebody told me I could use cow manure or horse manure, but I don't know what they're feeding the cow or horse, and I want to keep it organic. So do you think, is it an issue if you're using unorganic, horse manure or cow manure from horses that are fed GMOs? Does it affect the tree?
Yeah. You need to really go buy it, where it's certified organic, and that way, they're looking at up the food chain, was that horse or cow or chicken, in an organic system or not. So yeah, I wouldn't do that because, and horses especially down here, if they're using them in competition, sometimes they give them, hormones and other things to enhance their performance. So I would think that would pass through.
Yes, yes. I also noticed, Cecil, you don't have any coconut trees on your property.
I don't.
Tell us about that.
I just don't. I like coconut, and I've never got into it. I don't know anything about coconut other than I like coconut. Always has. I have liked coconut. So
some people say the roots might affect. The roots go really long. Some people say they're short, but some people say they're long, and you can't plant other trees any close to them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of dedicated things to the mangoes. I don't have a lot of space, so I didn't want other things encroaching on the mango trees, and that's really, where my focus is at. So I don't really go out and buy coconuts and crack them. I like coconut. I buy a bag of coconut, and it lasts me for a while.
Is there any fruit? Any fruit you like more than mangoes?
No, mangoes is really my favorite.
Okay.
Mangoes are so interesting. You have so many different variety profiles, and there's just nothing like them.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Well, avocados are second, but avocado, they have a lot less uses than a mango does. But I like my avocados, and when mangoes end, I go into avocados, and I like those. But it's not the same as just sitting down and just cutting a fresh mango and just how delicious they can be.
Can you freeze avocados?
I haven't, but I've been told you
I've heard mixed things, but I never have.
Yeah, I freeze mangoes, and they'll last.
Yeah, mangoes
at least
are great.
A year,
yeah, mangoes.
They can last up to 2 years.
When you freeze the mangoes, do you cut them first, or peel them, or do you just put them whole?
I peel them and cut them up, and then freeze them that way.
But people can put them whole as well.
I guess. Yeah, I would think so.
Now, what about jackfruit? I don't see any jackfruit here.
I had a jackfruit tree. It was probably the worst jackfruit tree in Palm Beach County. It had been damaged. Somebody had ran into it with a mower, and it took off half the bark, and it never hardly grew. And finally had one jackfruit, and the lady that got it said it wasn't that good, so I got rid of it. And that area is taken by mangoes. So,
you never had any thoughts about getting another one?
Again, I'm kind of limited for space, so I just, jackfruit, I don't eat it that often. I probably ought to do more, but it's not on my radar screen.
Well, what I find interesting is you are limited in space, and you have lychee trees, which they don't necessarily bear every year, right?
They don't.
So do you think somebody who's limited in space, that might not be the best choice in general?
Lychees, I planted a sweetheart tree, and after 3 or 4 years, I finally just got rid of it because it just wouldn't grow. And lychees are very tough to get going. Longan will grow a lot quicker than a lychee tree will. And I had these trees when I was here. Like I said, the one I was tempted to remove it. I cut it. It was a big tree. I cut it way back down to 6 feet, and I just didn't feel like tackling it and working it all the way down. So it's produced this year. The other tree you know, it didn't produce for a while, but it's made up for that in the last 4 years. 3 out of 4, I'm getting a crop, and this year is just a completely insane crop. So, and that's a very rare lychee also, and I certainly I'm glad I've got it because I don't know, you know, anybody around that has
Yeah.
one, especially that size. I mean, there's some people that have some little ones, but that tree's a 30-year-old tree.
Wow. Well, some places I visit, there are farms, and other places are residential properties, and they all have their own different needs. You have kind of a combination of both. So you have to deal. You get the good and the bad of both, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, all right, everybody. That was Cecil, and this is his amazing farm that he has here in Lantana, Florida. You can go below the video and get his contact information. Another person who sells mangoes during mango season here, and it's great to have as many resources as possible, and so I'm glad to provide that for you. And I'm definitely going to be coming here back during the mango season to check out some of these varieties, and some of these varieties are unique that other people don't even have. So I'm always looking forward to try different things and new things, and it's very interesting to see these big trees, how he top worked them and changed them. But again, look at this here. Look how far this tree comes out before you even get to the tree trunk. It's amazing, and I love the way trees look. It's a beautiful thing. It looks great. But I really overall love this property. Great guy, and I'm looking forward to tasting his mangoes. You know, another thing I want to mention before I go here is on all his trees, he pruned them the right way. You could tell he did his research. That all of them, the middle is almost cut out, so there's great airflow. So he definitely knew what he was doing there and knows what he's doing there. So even if he does get some diseases on these trees, he's not getting nowhere near as much as if he just let these trees grow and just get bushy and filled up in the middle and get really super high. He's also helping them from hurricanes, as he said in the video. People across the street that have all these big trees, they lost almost everything, but he didn't lose as much during the hurricane. So a lot of wisdom. Check him out. He doesn't have a website, but he has an email and phone number and an address, and it's below the video. Get in touch with him, check it out. Thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and please hit that notification button, because I am going to be doing some live videos as well. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.